How's it going, everyone? And welcome once again to Animal Talk Podcast with me, Ryan Ferguson.
And me, Ayrton King. Good day, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been a interesting week, a few weeks actually. But yeah, I think I can safely say I'm doing okay. I'm looking forward to the upcoming workshop that's happening. And how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm also doing okay. It has definitely been an interesting few weeks, and I'm sure our listeners have noticed our absence. And it's been because we've been having technical issues again. Those gremlins jumped in, but I'm excited because we are busy recording a podcast right now. So I'm excited for this episode, and I'm also excited for the workshop. And talking about the workshop, joining us in this episode, we are going to be speaking to Dave and Margaret from Wild Welfare. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Hi, wonderful.
Yeah, it's okay, hey?
Only okay.
Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you on our show, and we're very excited to chat to you. But before we get into the crux of our episode, we ask all of our guests a very, very important question. What is your favorite animal?
My favorite animal, I'm sad to say, Ryan is no longer with us. His name was Windstone, and Windstone was a Merle Great Dane. He was my best friend and companion for just slightly over 10 years. And I mean, 10 years is old for a Dane at the best of times. But he was by far and away my favorite animal, and pretty much still is.
I love that. It's very touching.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I love that. That's really cool. Yeah. Awesome. And Margaret, what is your favorite animal?
Well, now when you ask that question, you could be asking about an individual animal like Dave talked about, or you could be asking about a species. But for me, my favorite animal is often the one that's right in front of me.
How dare you refer to me that way?
Isn't speaking of Dave.
I really like that answer.
I work with so many different animals that the one that's in front of me is my favorite.
That is probably the best answer I've had thus far on
I
our
like that
podcast.
answer
I
too.
really like that. That's really cool.
It's all about being in that moment.
Yeah. 100%. That's amazing.
Exactly.
So let's get into it and let's chat about what you both do at Wild Welfare. So either one can start and we'll listen in and you can tell our listeners exactly what you do and what Wild Welfare does.
Well, I'll start because I'm the more recent addition to Wild Welfare. And I currently serve as the executive director for Wild Welfare US. And Wild Welfare US was formed a few years ago to expand our global reach and to further the work that Wild Welfare, which Dave was a part of founding and has been in existence since 2012. So Wild Welfare US was formed to sort of expand the reach and the capacity of Wild Welfare. And as executive director and also working out in the field, I do a little bit of everything, and I love that about it.
Yeah, that is the best thing about being out in the field and getting the opportunity to pretty much have your hands in all the different pies.
Right. I'm never bored.
It's amazing.
Well, I think from my perspective, we originally set up Wild Welfare back in 2012, as Margaret had said. Our aim was very, very specifically to look at developing an organization that dealt very specifically with the welfare of wild animals in captivity. At the time, there were any number of international animal welfare NGOs out there that were involving themselves, so to speak, with the welfare of captive wild animals, but coming at it from the perspective of being rather under-resourced and not necessarily knowledgeable about what they were dealing with. The majority of international animal welfare NGOs that there are really deal predominantly with companion animals and also the agricultural livestock industry, rather than focusing necessarily on things like zoos and aquariums, however persecuted such zoos and aquariums might feel. And we felt at the time that there was a definite need for effectively captive animal specialists to be focusing considerably more on the welfare of animals being held in captivity in other parts of the world, particularly those ones that were falling between the cracks between the big regional zoo associations like AZA and IAZA, and in those areas where were not being covered by either national or regional zoo associations. And that's really where wild welfare came into the picture. And these days, I do pretty much what I've been doing since 2012, which is working with the likes of experts like Margaret, for example's sake, out there in the field, talking about animal welfare and modern concepts of animal welfare, and how one would go about actually deploying them in the captive animal circumstance. And there is a lot of work to be done out there. We are constantly busy. As Margaret says, we're certainly never bored. There's always someone out there needing us to lend a hand, to give guidance, to give advice, and to help them out with their animals. And in that regard, I think from a wild welfare perspective, we started out being a UK based charity, and now we're not only UK based, but we're USA based as well. And we're expanding all the time, and our workload is ever increasing.
Yeah, it's amazing work that you guys have done and are still doing. And I'm sure that there's a lot more work, as you say, ahead of you. And I think there's such a big change in the globe at the moment in our industry when it comes to welfare of animals. We're seeing it more recently now. Before it was there, but it was sort of in the back end, and now it's come to the forefront. And it's so important to make sure that we've got their welfare under control and that we're focusing on their welfare is one of the major points for them in captivity. So I'm really excited about wild welfare and the things that you guys are doing, which is great.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say so. But we agree with you. So well said.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's also such a, you wouldn't think it's such a niche area, but it really is. There's so much that goes on in the industry, and as much as there's so much happening and so much being developed, there's always, from my opinion, there's always seems to be these little holes or these little gaps, and it seems like wild welfare is really trying to be that organization that's there bridging the gaps in welfare for those animals, which is really exciting as well. I think it's something we need.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, that's exactly right. And actually, nobody else fills this gap that Wild Welfare does. We are the only organization doing the scope of work that we do. And so we're in an incredibly unique position doing everything from working with, governments to working with the people on the ground doing daily care of animals. So the sort of breadth and scope of what we do is completely unique. There is no one else doing this type of work.
It's very cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you find, Margaret, in the time that you've been with Wild Welfare and working with facilities, working with higher up people in the government and all of that type of stuff, is it taken well when you come along with ideas and put those things across as welfare for the animals that are in their care?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. It really depends on the situation. And I think one of the reasons that I fell so much in love with Wild Welfare is the approach that Dave and the other founders laid for how work is done. And that is very much a collaborative approach. And we want to work with, whether it's individuals or facilities or governmental organizations or individuals within a legislature. We want to find common ground and explore that common ground so that we can create meaningful and positive change for animals. And so if we encounter somebody that seems not receptive, then I think we go back and try to figure out how we can work with them and use logic and reason to develop relationships and try to create that, like I said, that meaningful change for animals. And I mean, we've both, even before Dave and I were working, with Wild Welfare, I think we've been working in this industry to create this type of positive change. Wild Welfare is just an amazing platform from which to do it. And the public and governments and everybody are becoming much more sensitive to animal issues. So that certainly makes our jobs a little bit easier because there's more open-mindedness about it now.
Yeah, I think it's great that you guys started from the bottom and worked all the way up to where you are now, and working in facilities for most part of the beginning of your careers. And now you're in a position where you've got that knowledge from the ground roots. And that's so important. And I find that lacks a lot of the time in a management team in some facilities. There's not a lot of managers that have been down at that ground root. So when you can connect with the people that are working on the ground and actually physically working with the animals, knowing what they're experiencing, knowing what they go through, it makes a big difference for them, and it end up making a big difference for the animals that they care for.
Well, Ryne, I have to admit that I've certainly reached a point in my career where I've come to realize how incredibly privileged the likes of myself and Margaret actually are. And I know that sounds trite, and I'm not, I'm not, I'm not making this up. I'm being quite sincere. We're very, very privileged from the perspective of having seen this industry from virtually every which way but loose. We've seen it as volunteers, we've seen it as keepers, we've seen it as curators, we've seen it as senior management, we've seen it as director level. I've seen it from regional zoo association perspective. And I do feel that we've almost been, wild welfare was a natural outcome of the things that those of us within the organization as a whole have naturally come to in terms of our career. And I want to reiterate this, that we feel very privileged from that perspective, because it gives us an insight and a perception of the industry that I think we're very, very lucky to have. That it gives us a perception. It gives us that overview of the whole concept of captive wild animals in a way that very, very few people get to experience. And for that, I'm very grateful, because on the basis of that, we can move forward and make recommendations for really, really constructive change to the way we maintain these animals under our care.
I think that's 100% right. Just listening to you and hearing that, that's exactly how I was picturing it. You've got your baseline where you can connect with those volunteers or those ground staff, and you can move to those keepers, you can move to those curators, you can move to those managers, you can move to the directors, because you've been in those positions. You know what those positions are like. You know how to navigate them. They're not all the same. And I think that's exactly how wild welfare is going to prosper and get into so much more effectiveness through what you guys do, which is absolutely amazing.
Well, I thank you for that. You do wind up being an old crab like me. I can't speak for Margaret, but yeah.
I'm a young crab.
Yeah, just on what Ryan said there, I think it's, when we chat about things in our own organizations, or if it's like even, the soccer committee, when we chatting, we talk about, having all these different hats that you put on. And I can just, imagine, Dave, when you say all the different, perspectives that you are able to see from, and all the experiences you're able to like pull, knowledge from. It's just you just putting on your different hats and getting to see it from all different angles. And it must be something that's really incredible to have that knowledge. And that's also why I'm going to reiterate, I'm so excited for the upcoming workshop, because we get to spend more time with you guys and just, be able to learn more from you, which is really exciting.
I have this visual of Dave walking around with this really large suitcase, and he puts it down and now starts pulling out a whole lot of different hats.
Just hats.
No, masks.
Yeah, masks actually might work better. Well,
I'm kind of wishing I had brought more hats with me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, talking about the workshop, Ayrton, thanks for bringing that up. You're both going to be at the workshop, and you're both hosting that workshop with us, and we're really excited about it, as you can tell. And there's a lot of people and a lot of our listeners that are probably going to be at the workshop. So could you tell us a little bit about what people can expect at the workshop this coming week?
Well, they can expect the rules to change regularly. We are looking forward to a rather large group of people, and we will be discussing, of course, animal welfare and how we enhance and improve and provide the best care possible that yields great animal well-being. And the focus of that will be behavioral management, which involves the use and application of positive reinforcement training and environmental and behavioral enrichment, and an examination of the facilities, and also taking a close look at the operational procedures, or how daily operations or weekly operations might go within a facility. And we'll be exploring the synergy and interconnectedness of all of these things, and how we can manipulate and use and combine them to give us the best outcomes for animal welfare, and also improve daily care, husbandry care, as well as veterinary care, and maybe for social animals, enhancing socialization, things like that. So, and we'll have presentations, we'll have activities, we'll be out in the zoo doing different types of activities. Dave and I are going to get there a couple days early and really try to dive in and explore the different things that we can do that are more practical and hands-on. So we're excited to get on site and see what all we can provide. But I hope everybody comes ready to participate and ask lots of questions, and share your problems, concerns, as well as victories.
We are a very interactive team, and I think this is the important thing. We're not there to talk at the audience. We really require very strong audience participation. Wild welfare is about building relationships, as we say. And during workshops like this is the whole, from our perspective, that's the whole point of it, is to build relationships. So we will utterly rely on folk absolutely interacting with us. And as Margaret says, there will be practical hands-on exercises we'll be conducting, but we will also be slightly challenging and asking for some intellectual and ethical debate into possibly thorny issues, a little bit of role playing, scenario playing in situations of how would you react if animal X did Y, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, our objective here is to be as interactive as possible, and just a little bit challenging as well.
I like that idea. And I don't know about you, Ayrton, but I've now got even more excited about the workshop because it's kind of right down my alley with behavioral management and sort of all of those type of things. So
I know, I'm just like,
I'm really excited
yay.
about that and excited to hear what you guys have to say. And I can tell you that the people that are going to be attending the workshop are a bunch of sponges, and they are so eager to learn. And they're also going to be so eager to, ask questions. And I am 100% sure they're going to want to get involved in those nitty-gritties and maybe those hard questions that most people are not too sure of how to word or get answered. So that's really exciting to know that that's an opportunity for people to, voice those opinions.
That is fantastic to hear. And I would just say, to add on to what Dave was saying, is that to me, one of the true joys of having these sorts of workshops is, of course, we're there presenting the material and the information, but I always learn so much from all of the participants. So I very much look forward to that level of interaction and hearing their perspectives and their challenges. And like I said, where they find successes and how those come about. Because when we share all of that, we find common ground and we also find pathways to create better situations for animals. So I love learning from the participants as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know Ryan and I were chatting about it earlier, and I mentioned that we were very lucky to have both Margaret and Dave come to Two Oceans. And I think you were with us for about a week. Not all of us got to interact with you guys as much as we wanted to because there was so much going on. But you presented there, and it was just very insightful, all the things that you picked up going on with certain animals and ways that we could improve their welfare. And, simple things about just them having choice in their like enclosure design or exhibit design. And that was so like eye-opening. So I'm really excited for another almost week with you guys.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice feedback to hear. One of the situations we find ourselves in so often is we go to a facility and we may not get a lot of feedback, or we host a workshop and we get limited feedback, and we always like to hear from people, not just the good stuff, but things that we could change to do better, because certainly we're always looking to improve and learn, like I said. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's the best way to work, and that also helps everybody feel more comfortable in a situation where they may not always feel comfortable discussing things about their animals and their care, because it can be quite stressful as a keeper, for example, talking about these type of things. But I think being open and honest is a really good way to, allow people the opportunity to learn and also ask questions.
Well, in fairness, that we were actually conducting a welfare audit of Two Oceans Aquarium at the time, which is a little bit different to presenting a workshop on welfare. So we actually gave the staff at Two Oceans
Yes.
a bit of a hard time.
We appreciated it. We were chatting. I was chatting to actually one of our volunteers the other day, and what I wanted to commend both of you on is just, often in a especially around welfare, it can sometimes be, like Ryan said, it can be sometimes a little bit, of a sensitive topic when things aren't going a certain way. And how you just approached certain things that you wanted us to, focus on or improve on or change, or was more just a joined conversation of, like, as I mentioned, like just opening our eyes to a situation. And then you stand back as a keeper and you think, oh my word, that makes so much sense. Why haven't we been doing it this way? Or why haven't we, done this? And it's all these like new ideas seem to be flooding in. It's because there's this new like inspiration and new, advice. So how you did it was really, really a nice way of just maybe, tweak it over here and we can improve stuff by doing this. So it was very just a nice, calm, wasn't threatening at all.
I love the feedback. I can only echo what Margaret had said earlier. This feedback like that is vitally important to us, so we know that what we need to change and what we can improve on. So thank you for saying that. Much appreciated. We'll do better next time.
Well, I just want to say thanks to Dave and Margaret for, being willing to be part of our podcast. And also just wanted to say again, I'm so excited for the upcoming workshop, and to spend more time with you guys and just, be a sponge. I will be there as a sponge, just trying to absorb all the knowledge and skills that you guys are willing to share with us. And yeah, I think I just wanted to end by saying I'm very grateful for everything that you are doing for organizations, and for keepers, especially, those people that are working on the ground and love their animals and want to do well for their animals. So yeah, just thank you to both of you.
Well, thank you for saying that. This is what we do, and the fact of the matter is that when one thinks about welfare within a captive animal situation, there's various roles are assigned to people, but the most important person from a welfare perspective in a captive animal situation is the person who directly interfaces with our animal on a day-to-day basis, the keeper, the primary caregiver. That is the person who actually is where good welfare actually stems from. So as far as we're concerned, the animal caregivers, the keepers themselves, are the most important people that we have to deal with.
Yeah, that's so cool. And how cool is it that it's actually the International Animal Keepers Awareness Day on Saturday, which is the day before we release this episode. So that's really cool, and how important animal keepers really are. So we'll be focusing on that this coming weekend. And Margaret, any last final thoughts?
Oh, I guess I just want to say how excited I am to be back in South Africa and have this opportunity to meet everybody and get to know you guys a little bit better and just explore how we can make animals' lives better and better all the time. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and dive into some of these topics. Look forward to the coming week.
Yeah, I love that. And how do our listeners, if they want to get hold of you guys, how do they get hold of you?
Very easy. Either my first name or Margaret's first name at wildwelfare.org.
Ah, excellent. All right. Well, we'll put that information down in the description of this podcast episode. You'll find it on any of the platforms at the bottom in the description. And I also just would like to say thank you so much to Margaret and Dave for making the time to join us on our podcast. Really do appreciate it. And I know you guys are super busy, so thank you so much for joining us. And if you guys are interested in getting hold of us, you can get us on our email, which is animal.talk201@gmail.com. Pop us an email and let us know what you think about the podcast, some interesting information, and maybe some topics you'd like to hear about.
And don't forget about our social media platforms. We've got various social media platforms, including our LinkedIn profile, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. For our Instagram and YouTube, our handle is Animal Talk Podcast _ZA. So go check us out, share our various profiles, and help us spread Animal Talk Podcast amongst the industry.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share to get our voice out there. Also, don't forget to have a look at SARCA. SARCA is the South African Animal Keepers Association, and if you didn't know about it, you can have a look at it on their website, which is sarca.org.za. They're also on Facebook and Instagram, so go and have a look. And remember, animals are our passion.
Thanks for joining again, everybody. And remember, our quality of care is their quality of life. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And for me, bye. And always remember, a little bit of empathy makes for big change. Well, Ayrton, sing us a song or tell us a joke or something.
Why did the penguin cross the road? Oh, good. Ryan's back.
Why?
I think. Hello?
Yes, he is.
Do we hear you? Ryan?
Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Do you hear me?
He's back.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
You came back just in time because I was starting to tell penguin jokes.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys.
I
Glad I'm back.
Well, we didn't hear the punchline.